Shaquille O'Neal presents his Super Friends Volume 1. Alongside a successful basketball career, Shaq also began producing rap music, which typically received mixed to negative reception. These musical efforts included his debut album, Shaq Diesel, and some contributions to the Kazam soundtrack. You know, the movie where he plays a genie. He took a 3-year hiatus from making music until 2001, when he began seeking out other artists to help produce a new album. And these weren't just some no-name artist. He got Dr. Dre, Nate Dogg, Snoop Dogg, Ludacris, Common, Pink, and many others. Shaq was ambitious with this album, incorporating various rap styles and creating the Shaq Team to spread the hype. This team would go on to distribute this album to various critics to get their reception on it. Most seemed to enjoy the album, though still questioned Shaq's rapping abilities. Titled Shaquille O'Neal Presents His Super Friends Volume 1, it was to be released on September 11, 2001. It would soon be pushed back to October 2, 2001 before being shelved in its entirety. It's never been stated why, but I doubt it's because of the 9/11 attacks. For years, the album remained completely lost, with not even any bootleg copies being spread online. Those who had gotten review copies before the cancelled release were not allowed to leak it due to legal reasons. Then on March 8, 2017, a Discogs user made a listing for the promotional copy of the album, titled simply Shaq. It featured most of the songs from his Super Friends Volume 1, though in a different track lineup. Some madman did end up buying this for $999, though never leaked the whole thing. Instead, a user named KDub posted a 6-minute video containing a brief samples of all the tracks. 4 years later, on February 19, 2021, Lost Media Wiki user KoboChat uploaded a mega link to some of the songs on the album, but out of the 15 songs featured on Super Friends Volume 1, 4 of them are still lost. These include That's Me, Atomic Dog, and The One. The song Big Hat Club is partially lost, as only Ludacris' verse is available. There's also a song cut from the album titled It Takes Two, which is missing.
Back and in Attack by Milli Vanilli. The duo Milli Vanilli, made up of Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus, were notorious in the late 1980s for being complete frauds. During a concert at Lake Compound's theme park, both men were exposed for lip syncing, which isn't the biggest deal until it was learned that those weren't even their voices. Fab and Rob didn't even speak proper English and had other people sing for them. This practically ruined their entire careers, as their album sold poorly due to the backlash. This was thought to be the end of Milli Vanilli, until both Rob and Fab got back together in 1997 to try again. This time, they would actually be singing themselves, planning a comeback album titled Back and in Attack. The entire thing was recorded, though was never released, due to an unexpected tragedy. Rob Pilatus had spent the previous years committing robberies and abusing drugs. He even made a terrorist threat, which got him arrested and soon bailed out by Fab. Even during the recordings, Rob continued abusing drugs, soon passing away from an accidental overdose in his hotel room on April 2, 1998. This was only a day before the duo's promotional tour for Back and in Attack was to begin. With that cancelled, the album became lost, with only little potential of it being released, due to Fab Morvan continuing with a solo career.
Unreleased tracks from My Bloody Valentines. The Irish rock band My Bloody Valentines signed with Creation Records to release a few EPs, and the 1988 album This Isn't Anything. With the success of these music projects, the band began to work on the follow-up album titled Loveless, which went through production hell. This included hiring 19 different production studios over a span of 2 years, which ended up costing the studio over £250,000. An incident occurred where the computers housing the recordings threw the instrumental tracks out of order. Some of the songs on Loveless would instead be used for 2 other EPs titled Glider and Tremolo, both released in the early 1990s. Due to the high production costs of the album, Creation Records insists to release all the recordings to make as much money as possible. 2 more EPs would be released after the album, though My Bloody Valentine deemed this material to be too poor to release. The group held on to the master tapes and refused to give them up. This violated the contract with Creation Records. Although they were never sued, instead they were dropped by the label after the release of Loveless. In 1991, these missing EPs were only brought up once in an article from the magazine Melody Maker, which was archived in May of 2021. After signing with the Irish Records in 1992, the band began to work on a follow-up to Loveless. Several albums worth of material was recorded, with none of it ever making it to the light of day due to My Bloody Valentine's breaking up in 1997, although they would eventually get back together in 2007.
Lost recordings from Poppy's Bubble Bath sessions. Back when she was known as That Poppy, an EP was released titled Bubble Bath, though it was most likely intended to be a full album. We know this because of the video Charlotte Interviews Poppy, uploaded in August 2015. In it, Poppy says this:
Poppy, when can we expect to hear new music from you?
I'm so excited about my new album coming out on Island Records. It'll be released on...
Now this could have been a mistake or something, but multiple songs would soon be teased, making it seem like this project was supposed to be an album. The month prior, an Instagram post from her revealed a song titled New York, which she also performed at various live events. An official version was never released, though the instrumental was used in one of her unreleased videos. A total of 40 songs were recorded for this supposed album, with only 4 making it to the EP, released in February 2016. So where are the other 36? Well, since Bubble Bath's release, most have been fully leaked, one from Poppy accidentally. On May 17, 2016, the song Chewing Gum was available on Poppy's SoundCloud for a total of 30 minutes, though even with it taken down, many others were able to re-upload it elsewhere. In a Q&A years later, Poppy said this takedown was due to her at-the-time label, Island Records. After her breakup with former boyfriend and producer Titanic Sinclair, Poppy stated that he would leak personal photos and demos of hers. This led to other songs being considered found, with many other non-related leaks occurring in 2021 and 2022. Some songs are just partially found, such as the previously mentioned New York. Only 17 seconds of British Boys was leaked, 15 seconds of the song Bubble Bath, 10 seconds of Down for Whatever, 12 seconds of Oh Why, 44 seconds of Peppermint, and a 22-second snippet of a cover to Video Kill the Radio Star. So out of the 40 songs total, only 7 are partially missing, and I'm pretty damn sure we'll end up seeing these leaked. Poppy's first full album, titled Poppy.Computer, would release in late 2017.
Unreleased songs from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Over this band's extensive history, it's inevitable for some songs or projects to never get released. With their first album, simply titled The Red Hot Chili Peppers, 2 songs never made it to the finished product. One, titled Sex Rap, was eventually released in their follow-up album Freaky Style, but the other was never published, due to being deemed poor quality. In fact, Human Satellite wasn't even finished due to how much the Chili Peppers hated it. For their next album, Chukka Willie and Prince of Sadness were omitted, yet leaked in 2015 via the Freaky Styley session tape. With their 1995 album One Hot Minute, 3 songs were dropped, with Blender getting cut at the last minute. The other 2, Slow Funk and The Intimidator, also never met the light of day, though these might just be working titles. The biggest piece of lost media from the band was a follow-up album for 1997. While the title is unknown, what we do know is that the project was canned with the firing of Dave Navarro. It was said that 20 songs were recorded, with the only confirmed one being Circle of the Noose, which was leaked on February 3, 2016. The group's 2011 album, I'm With You, had a reported 50 songs recorded for it. Andrew Sheps even stated, not just basic tracks of 50 songs, actually almost finished recording 50 songs, including final lead vocals. Of course, only 22 of these were in the final product, and only 2 other songs have titles, those being Ethiopia and Renaissance.
Lost demos from Slipknot. Before the band officially debuted in the late 1990s, various demos were recorded all the way back in 1992. Some were recorded when Andrew Koldsethne did lead vocals before being replaced by Corey Taylor. Most of these demo tracks have been found via fans, but some are still missing. Every song from the gold disc has been recorded of them live, though some of the studio recordings are nowhere to be found. This includes Do Nothing, Coleslaw, Carve, Tatter and Torn, Windows, Interlobe, and Heartache and a Pair of Scissors. There are some miscellaneous songs that are completely lost, like Rise and Rage, Viz Queen, and Wave Like the Pope. Source is partially found via live recordings. 2 early versions of prosthetics are rumoured to exist. Again, only rumours. Sadly, we still don't have any confirmation.
Mama's Boyfriend by Kanye West. West has had many cancelled projects such as the albums Good Ass Job and Yeezus 2, but what I want to discuss is one specific song. Mama's Boyfriend was almost included in his critically acclaimed 2010 album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It was mostly produced while Kanye was staying in Honolulu, Hawaii, having other artists fly in to help collaborate on the album. One of these collaborators was hip-hop producer Madlib, who created the initial instrumental for Mama's Boyfriend. The song was about Kanye addressing the men his mother dated during his childhood, clearly being a more emotional track. The song ended up going through heavy revisions, like of most of his other work, replacing Madlib with Q-Tip, lead member of A Tribe Called Quest. Before the release of Twisted Fantasy, West performed the song in a cappella at the Facebook headquarters of all places.
I already got crayons. My mama said I could do it. I already got clearance. Keep your hands off my mama. How I need a got clearance. Yeah, I know she look good, but you need to stop staring.
Despite the effort put into the song, it was never released, soon getting leaked the following year. It's unknown how it got leaked in June 2011, but it must be acknowledged that this isn't the full version. Universal Music Group confirmed that only the audio track is legit. The instrumental is from an unknown party. It wouldn't be until 2013 that Q-Tip played his version of Mama's Boyfriend at the Red Bull Music Academy. This version used a sample from Billy Joel's masterpiece, Movin' Out, while curiously also using the unofficial version from the 2011 leak. Q-Tip also mentioned the existence of a version of Soulja Boy, but this isn't confirmed. To this day, the official version of Mama's Boyfriend, along with the 2 other versions of it, remain missing, and with Kanye's recent behavior, I doubt we'll ever see any of it being released.
Removed rips from SiIvaGunner. This collaborative group began in early 2016, going by Gilva Sunner. This YouTube channel was one big trolling effort, using an almost identical name from a similar account. The only difference is that the lowercase l is replaced with an uppercase I. This is so they can trick you into believing the song you're about to listen to is the real thing, while actually being a bait and switch. It would instead be a remix to it, not the original rip you'd expect. This channel would be terminated in April 2016, leading to the creation of SiIvaGunner shortly after. This account would re-upload most of the missing content, though some was never officially put back up. SiIvaGunner is still up to this day, though has quite a few missing videos. The first group of these were uploaded on September 11, 2016, which were song remixes making light of the 9/11 attacks 15 years earlier. Over 30 of these songs were spammed out, though removed for individual reasons. These have since all been found, but what hasn't been found are remixes for Final Level, Mighty Switch Force, Because I Love You, Alpha Mix, Earthbound, Main Theme, Summer, We Shop Channel, Lost in Thoughts All Alone, Fire Emblem Fates, Central Highway, Mega Man X, and various others, even including some remixes of the famed We Are Number One.
Missing songs from Klay World Off the Table. The soundtrack to the 2005 film Klay World Off the Table has some missing pieces to it. We know this because some unused songs from the movie were still credited at the end. Some of these include 5 orchestrated tracks by Hamilton Cleaverton, background music by Robert Benfer, and some miscellaneous metal songs. Most notable are 3 songs made by Thomas Mears, who goes by the nickname Chainsaw Massacre. These songs have some bizarre titles like Dripping Taps, Murder of Crows, and Ultrafuck. Take this information with a grain of salt, as besides the credits of the film and some testimonies from fans, not many sources can be found. This is a more obscure entry due to the film's low budget and limited release. There was actually meant to be a sequel titled Villain, though this was cancelled.
Lost music from songs to wear pants to. This is the name Andrew Wong produces music under, with a reported 500 plus songs under his belt. You would be able to find his content via his website, but that has since been taken down. Even when it was up, some songs were removed or just flat out lost. Some are only available through an exclusive mailing list, which is inactive. Andrew's YouTube has kept most of his content alive, though some still remain hidden somewhere online. Song titles include Super Dear, Vitamin C, Not Feeling Your Request, The FCC Stole My Wallet and Kidnapped My Sister, Pommy Jeff vs. George Bush, and a bunch of others. On the topic of lost songs to wear pants to content, the music video for You Make Me Feel So Young is missing. It seems to have been once up on YouTube, though it's unknown how and why it was removed.
Missing songs from the Dixie Chicks. Despite the success of the 2002 album Home, the Dixie Chicks went through a ton of media backlash in the following years. This was due to a performance they gave at the Shepherd's Bush Empire Theatre in London regarding a speech by the lead singer Natalie Maines. She told the audience that the band did not support the upcoming invasion of Iraq, adding that all three were ashamed that they resided in the same state George W. Bush did, Texas. This led by consequence the Chicks being blacklisted on thousands of radio stations, along with receiving threats on a regular basis. This would greatly influence them as they were recording their next album. 2006's Taking the Long Way, it was not well received by critics, stemming from its much bleaker and envious tone. It contained a much more larger collections of songs compared to previous efforts, with 4 in particular being cut from the final product. These are Flowers, Baby Love, Come Crying to Me, and Whatever It Takes, the latter of which was once performed live and recorded, ending up on YouTube and remaining there for a few years. Eventually, however, it did eventually get removed due to copyright violations. Apparently, 2 of these songs were played during Natalie May's solo live show, though these were never recorded in any capacity. The group has since changed their name to just The Chicks, and releases new music to this day, bringing hope for those who want to hear these 4 songs.
Unreleased songs by XXXTENTACION. Much of his early music from 2013 to 2017 were uploaded to SoundCloud, but became lost over time. Following his death in June 2018, many began searching for X's earlier tracks to keep his legacy alive, with quite a few songs being found. One was called News/Flock, a track dating back to mid-2013. As one of his first SoundCloud releases, many sought this one out. On November 13th, 2019, someone purchased it for $4,500 and dumped it online. It turns out that the original version was simply called News and remains lost. Some believe that Tentacion even changed the lyrics before it became News/Flock. Many other tracks from him were not as lucky, only having a sliver of proof. Hunted was a 2014 song that fellow rapper Ski Mask the Slump God tweeted about. He even supposedly made a remix of it, the lyrics of which are up on Genius. Another song titled Come used the Come and Get Ya Some instrumental by Space Ghost Perp. Ho was a diss track towards one of Tentacion's ex-girlfriends. The final one we'll mention from him is Gnarly Freestyle, which is only available on Brain Bakery's SoundCloud for a little less than 2 hours.
Cigarettes and Valentines by Green Day. What's interesting about this case, when compared to others on the list, is that this project was actually stolen. Cigarettes and Valentines was supposed to be Green Day's 7th album, to be released in 2003. It faced many production issues, mostly stemming from lead Billy Joe Armstrong and his critiques of their work. There was also pressure on this project to be a comeback for Green Day, as their previous album, Warning, underperformed. Then, in mid-2003, it was reported that the hard drive containing the master tracks to all 20 songs were stolen from their recording studio in Oakland. This was disputed by its owner, John Lucchese, who claimed the facility was highly secure. He insisted that this theft must have happened elsewhere, as the band would bring the hard drive with them when outside the studio. While it's still not known how it was taken, Green Day still had demo recordings of these songs. They could have re-recorded them, but instead decided to start from scratch, which was considered a blessing in disguise. By 2004, Green Day released American Idiot, easily their most successful album. Only 5 songs are known to have been included with Cigarettes and Valentines, the first being the titular song the album was named after. It was elusive for many years, until its inclusion on Green Day's 2011 live album. This is just a live performance of it though, so a professionally recorded version has not been published. Too Much Too Soon would be officially released as a B-side on American Idiot, while 3 other songs would remain lost, those being Dropout, Sleepyhead, and Waste Away, the latter of which was thought to have been released with the 2012 album Trey, but that was a mispronunciation from an unrecorded interview with Billie Joe Armstrong. That song was instead Walk Away.
The Original Doll by Britney Spears. This was supposed to be her 5th album, due for release in 2005. Not much is actually known about what Original Doll was supposed to include, besides what information Britney has given herself. On December 30th of 2004, an impromptu call was made at the radio station Kiss FM, which they thought was a prank of some sort. The individual claimed that they were Britney Spears and they wanted to come by the station to play some new music, which turned out to be true. She arrived an hour later with her bodyguard, barefoot and holding a chihuahua. There she played a demo for a song called Mona Lisa and went under a quick interview.
Good luck with your album. It's untitled.
It's probably going to be called The Original Doll, so...
And it's half done?
Yeah, it's halfway done right now.
Alright, so maybe by the summer? Maybe by the fall?
Yeah, maybe a little bit earlier.
She confirmed that Mona Lisa was going to be in the upcoming album, which was most likely going to be called The Original Doll. Britney mentioned that it's halfway done and could be possibly released by the summer of 2005. Possibly even earlier than that, depending on development. After this event, her label Jive Records denied these claims and stated that Mona Lisa was meant for a tour documentary series, which eventually became the show Britney and Kevin Chaotic, which had an EP release alongside it. Mona Lisa was included as a B-side. Re-recorded this time, it's unknown if the Original Doll, if it was real or not. If it was, Britney would have been under a strict contract, not allowing her to mention it anywhere. Jive Records may have been trying to cover their tracks, eventually leading to the album's cancellation. This led to fans creating their own interpretations of what the album may have been, leading to many rumors being spread.
Smile by the Beach Boys. This is supposed to be a follow-up to the Beach Boys' 1966 album Pet Sounds, though it fell apart for multiple different reasons. In fact, Smile became infamous for the amount of infighting that went on between the band, specifically the mental deterioration of co-founder Brian Wilson. Lyricist Van Dyke Parks also left during the album's development, further hurting any chances of Smile getting finished. The final straw was a release of the Beatles' 1967 album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Its popularity squashed any remaining chances, leading to the near-complete restart that ended up becoming Smiley Smile. That album became the lowest performing one of all time, though one song from it became a big hit. Though it must be said that Good Vibrations was released the year before. It might have been originally meant for Smile, before that was scrapped. Most of these works were lost until October 2011, around the time the Beach Boys got back together. A box set of these Smile recordings were released, though it didn't include everything. So this album was a more varied attempt from the band that included complex orchestras, 2 suites, found sounds, a cappella, and short comedy skits. Some content we're still missing includes On Top of Old Smoky featuring Paul McCartney, another recording where Paul eats carrots while performing the song Vegetables, the vocals and lyrics for the songs Look, Songs for Children, I Wanna Be Around, and On a Holiday, a half-inch reel containing the multi-tracks for Wonderful, Cabin Essence, and My Only Sunshine, was accidentally left behind at the Capitol Records building in 1968, and the final multi-track for Good Vibrations, which was accidentally left behind at CBS Columbia Square shortly after the record was made. This remains missing to this day.
MCR5 by My Chemical Romance. This band has had a number of lost content, such as the song Sister to Sleep, which was originally intended to appear on 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge in June 2004. It was performed in several live shows and mentioned in a 2011 live stream, but it's unavailable to listen to due to legal issues. Some snippets are online though, just not the full song. But an entire album was never released, mostly due to production issues. Its working title was MCR5, due to the fact that this was intended to be their 5th album. My Chemical Romance announced in February 2012 that a new studio was being made for this project. It was to be the first album to include keyboardist James Dweez and drummer Jared Alexander, while still working with engineer Doug McKean. No other news came of MCR5 until October 2012, when guitarist Frank Iero mentioned to Q Magazine that things were progressing well. In the same month, the group began posting various unreleased songs from previous albums. 10 songs in total, 2 per month. But after this, nothing else came out. On March 22, 2013, My Chemical Romance officially broke up. There is a rumor that the song Fake Your Death, which was included in the band's 2014 compilation album, was originally from MCR5. This seems to most likely be true. My Chemical Romance would eventually reunite only 4 years later, officially announcing it in 2019. They began a tour in 2022, with the new song releasing.
Spinning Man by Ed Sheeran. This is Ed's first album, which he thoroughly discussed in the book, Ed Sheeran, A Visual Journey. In it, he said that the project was finished in 2004. With 14 songs, it had a particular rhyming scheme, and most of the songs revolved around a girl named Claire. Ed describes her as his first love when he was only 13 years of age. He said the following: "It was a very innocent love and we only ever held hands. But it lasted a fair amount of time. Then came my first devastating breakup. Looking back, it really wasn't that bad, but at the time it was soul-shattering. When she left me, I wrote a lot of songs off the back of it. My first love songs. A grand total of 20 copies were made, with Ed owning all of them, barring one. We don't know where the mislabeled album is, but Ed is insistent not to share any of his copies due to embarrassment. Of these 14 songs, 5 were later incorporated into his EP, The Orange Room. The other 9 songs, Spinning Man, haven't yet been found. These titles include such as No More War, Butterfly, and Mindless."
Shitting on the Industry by Communion. Back when he was known formally as the Kaka Man, Alvaro Vega would make crude parodies of popular songs. He was sort of like an earlier version of Rucka Rucka Ali, changing widely known tunes and giving them an inappropriate edge. Shitting on the Industry was an album released in 2007, which would slowly disappear over the next few years. Communion released 3 music videos for it, which were found via his YouTube channel and MySpace page. All 3 were taken down as of April 25, 2008, including Nasty Crap, a parody of Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake, Crap Dat, parody of Crank That by Soulja Boy, and Ain't Got Much of a Smile, an original track that surprisingly had nothing to do with fecal matter. Neither the songs nor the music videos were ever located until December 23, 2020. Lost Media Wiki user Hard Snake found a broken file of Shitting on the Industry on a torrent site, but did find the music video to Nasty Crap. A GIF of the video was found much earlier. The album has an Amazon page, but you're unable to listen to it. The other 2 music videos were found by March 2021, along with a 50-second snippet of A Lotta Caca. Despite this tremendous progress, people are still trying to find the remaining songs. This will be hard to do as Communion and his label Big Shit Records are taking down the re-uploads specific to YouTube.
I Wish You Well by Imagine Dragons. The Dragons' initial EPs, made before their record deal with Interscope, are a rarity nowadays, though most of these early tracks have been released via other means. One of these that has remained elusive is I Wish You Well, a tribute to a fallen friend. It was first performed during an April 2010 concert at the Bunkhouse Saloon in Las Vegas. A month later, on May 7th, Imagine Dragons made a guest appearance on the official Blue Microphones podcast. Here, they played a 50-second song teaser of I Wish You Well, which is available to listen to. It mostly focuses on a guitar solo, but eventually incorporates a few lyrics towards the end. Besides that teaser, we do have a full recording of the song, yet sadly it's in extremely low quality. It was filmed on April 9th, 2010 at the Velour Live Music Gallery in Provo, Utah. 4 days later, someone uploaded it online, giving us the best idea of its lyrical content. You can find them on Genius, though they aren't 100% accurate by any means. Despite never being re-recorded for future projects, fans hold on to the hope that higher quality footage could be discovered, due to I Wish You Well being played at a variety of live shows.
Lost music from Scott Savage. While his videos mostly focused on respected and beloved musicians, Scott is typically not seen as such. His work is usually considered poor quality and borderline lazy, which has led to many scouting at his work. His past is virtually unknown besides possibly emerging in the 1980s. He was most prevalent in the 2000s with his MySpace page containing his known work. He had a reputation as an immature and notorious liar, with some even considering him an internet troll with way too much time on his hands. Besides the albums ripped from his MySpace account, another was available via torrents. CD Baby, an independent music distributor, had copies of his missing work, but were all burned before being sent out. This has led to none of it being ripped and placed online. These albums include Cold Blooded, Love and Torture, Reborn, Apocalypse, Locked and Loaded, and Chinese Democracy. Not a single song from these projects is available to listen to. Dinosaur by Tyler the Creator. Now there are actually two projects Tyler was making called Dinosaur. One was an EP, which seems to be a completely separate project meant to come out before the full version. The Dinosaur album would have been released in March 2009, but was scrapped and eventually became Bastard. Bastard would incorporate some of the songs meant for Dinosaur, such as Odd Toddlers, Pigs Fly, Blow, and a few others. We didn't know what the other tracks were until a few years ago, when some started leaking online. Then, on May 18, 2022, a user of the Tyler Hub Discord server named Hack published a list and description of the 21 songs. Of these, we are still missing a few, such as the original version of French. While eventually reworked for Bastard, the original version only had a snippet played live. The lyrics in the outro are also different when compared to the official release. Session was likely a solo version of the song Bastard. Rape, yes, a song called Rape, was said to be extremely dark, which is obvious. Then comes the song Serial, which has absolutely no info about it besides the title and placement within Dinosaur.
The cancelled Untitled album from Van Halen. After the flop known as Van Halen 3 in 1998, the band immediately began producing a follow-up album. Van Halen's official website gave us some information on what to expect from it, including the fact that Danny Korchmar would help produce it. A total of 20 songs were written for it, most of which never got official names, though certain ones had working titles. These are I Want Her Anyway, You Wear It Well, Riverwide, Rock and Roll Cliché, Love Again, Miss You Much, More Than Yesterday, From Here, Where Do We Go, and Say Uncle. The album eventually ceased production due to lack of motivation from Van Halen. By November 1999, the third lead singer of the band, Gary Cherone, just up and left. He started his own band called Tribe of Judah, which released the album Exit Elvis. One of the songs included was Left for Dead, which is confirmed to have been originally meant for the untitled Van Halen album. In 2012, Gary also revealed that 2 other songs were fully recorded, though we don't know which ones. Van Halen would fall apart by the early millennium, reforming soon after and going on many tours. A 12th album was finally released in 2012, titled A Different Kind of Truth. This was the first project to prominently feature David Lee Roth as lead vocals, a first since 1984.
Origin of Symmetry by Muse. A few months before this album's official release in June 2001, an interview was conducted confirming the existence of unused and scrap material. Muse's lead singer and guitarist, Matt Bellamy, told the fan site Microcuts the following. So far, tracks in the can include Bliss, Hyper Music, Origin of Symmetry, Love Bleach, Shrinking Universe, and Razor Song Plus. Of course, our forthcoming single, Plug In Baby, which hits the shops on March 5th through Mushroom. Now this wasn't all true. Some of the songs Matt listed did end up on Origin of Symmetry, those being Bliss and Hyper Music. Shrinking Universe was included as a B-side on the single Newborn. Of the songs that are missing, a few could have been renamed and released with Origin of Symmetry, such as Razor Song possibly being renamed to Screenager. The song Origin of Symmetry is the only track that is fully lost, unless somehow converted into something else entirely.
Red House Painters' early demos. This refers to the demos that were made in the late 80s before the band had publicly emerged in 1992. They led many to believe that their earliest demos were made in 1991, a year prior, but this was later confirmed to be false. In 2011, an old interview from 1988 had leaked, which was conducted by Red House Paint's very own Mark Kozelek. In this original interview, Mark mentions that this original band lineup was different, and had a much more different sound more comparable to the Smiths. This clip is hard to pin down, but is said to re-emerge from time to time. What is available is from the song Surrounded, and another acoustic track is said to be out there. Mark has never acknowledged any of this in recent years, most likely due to a wee bit of embarrassment of his earlier work. Any other demo tracks from this era have never leaked as a result. The Red House Painters would release 6 albums, breaking up in 2001 before Mark formatted Sun Kill Moon, which is essentially a continuation of his earlier band.
Heat Melts Cube by Eazy-E. This entry details a rumored track, one with lots of evidence behind it that makes it for a great story. It all began in 1991 with the breakup of NWA, due to monetary and creative differences. This led to some high tension between the former crewmates, who began releasing diss tracks against one another. First was Ice Cube, who released the song No Vaseline on his October 1991 album Death Certificate. A year later, Dr. Dre released Death Row, an album containing Fuck With Dre Day and Everyone Celebratin'. The music video for such a creative track included actor AJ Johnson playing the cheeky parody Sleazy E. In 1993, Eazy-E finally barked back against the disses with his own, titled Real Motherfucking G's. His bars focused on Dre, Suge Knight, and the entire Death Row record label, but not Ice Cube despite the earlier track. It wasn't until 2006, almost a decade after E's death, that a user on the Eazy-E CPT forums mentioned the existence of the diss track on Ice. An EP was to be released called Temporary Insanity, with the lead track being Heat Melts Cube. It's reported that this project was never released for 2 reasons. One was E and Ice Cube reconciling before the former's death in 1995. The other is due to Ice hearing the track after his death and leaving the studio in tears. DJ Yella mentioned he had a copy of an unreleased Eazy-E diss track, not mentioning which one. It would later be confirmed in a 2021 interview that he possessed a copy of the song, declining to release it out of respect and because it's not fully finished. He never confirmed nor denied the song being about Ice Cube. Dr. Dre may also have a copy, but would have the same reasoning of Yella.
Once Upon a Time in Shaolin by the Wu-Tang Clan. This is considered the rarest album of all time, mainly due to having only one copy ever made. It was recorded in secret for 6 years, between 2007 and 2013, containing every living Wu-Tang member at the time. The album contained 2 different sides, Shaolin School and Allah School. Once Upon a Time in Shaolin was contractually barred from commercial release due to some pretentious decision-making. The group wanted to make the release significant, due to their association with the number 8. So for the purpose of art, don't expect the album to drop until 2101, 88 years after its completion. The band's lead singer, RZA, declined to comment on most questions, besides the mention of live shows around the country to tease Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. 13 minutes of it were played at the Museum of Modern Art in March 2015, with phones and other recording devices being confiscated. Also in 2015, a year in which the numbers add up to 8, an auction was held at the Paddle 8 in New York City. Here it was sold for a whopping $2 million to none other than professional douchebag Martin Shkreli. This purchase grew massive criticism and mass speculation online. One rumor alleged that the contract Martin signed allowed the Wu-Tang Clan themselves, or actor Bill Murray, one attempt to steal the album in a heist. This was blatantly false, but hilarious nonetheless. Shkreli, known for many heinous actions like bumping up the prices of certain medicines, declined to release the album. He even considered destroying it just to piss people off. But by late 2016, Martin changed his tune and promised to release Once Upon a Time in Shaolin if Donald Trump won that year's presidential election. When he did, Martin streamed just the intro, infuriating more. A year later, he tried selling it on eBay for $1 million, before being arrested on unrelated fraud charges. The album laid in the hands of the US Justice Department until July 2021, when it was sold for $4 million to help pay Martin Shkreli's debt. A few months later, it was revealed that the purchaser was a crypto community known as Pleaser DAO. The group wants it released and made publicly available, but can't due to restrictions. Two members of the Wu-Tang Clan, Method Man and Ghostface Killah, expressed interest in reclaiming the album. This can be seen in some interviews, though they seem to be somewhat joking.
Alright, fine, I guess you give us no choice but to settle this through ancient ways of Shaolin.
Brace yourself for combat.
I accept your challenge.
Black Gold by Jimi Hendrix. This album, which Jimi began recording in early 1970, was a series of 16 songs recorded at his Greenwich Village apartment. These recordings were held on a C90 cassette tape. Idea for LP, Side 1 Sweet, Black Gold, written on the label. He held onto this and revealed these recordings to his drummer, Mitch Mitchell. This was at the Isle of Wight Festival in August 1970, only 1 month before Jimi's tragic death. Eric Burdon, lead singer of The Animals, knew quite a lot about Black Gold due to his friendship with Hendrix. He said, quote, "I remember Jimi telling me about his idea for Black Gold, an autobiographical, multi-song fantasy piece he had been working on. Jimi intended it to accompany an animated feature about a black rock star, himself on the road. 40 minutes of fresh new material that clearly demonstrated the direction Jimi was headed in. He talked excitedly about the cartoon character he'd envisioned. I know he did at least some work on the suite before he died. The last 2 tracks meant to be on Black Gold was a 2-part funk song. Titled Astro Man, it was said to be more humorous than his other works, even including references to Superman and Mighty Mouse. Not much was known about the tape until the mid-1980s, when Jimi's producer, Alan Douglas, implied it was stolen. It wasn't until 1992 that Mitch Mitchell revealed he had it all along. Jimi had handed it to him back in August 1970, keeping it stored at his home until rediscovering it. This has led to some of the songs seeing an official release, and others were compiled in Jimi Hendrix's posthumous 1971 album, Cry of Love. The most recent release of Black Gold material was in 2010, when a box set of recordings went on sale. Among them was Suddenly November Morning, which can be readily available online. It was teased by the Hendrix family that other songs would be published this decade, but that never came into fruition. Completion by Charles Manson. While most known for being a cult leader and serial killer for obvious reasons, Manson was also an accomplished musician with ties to well-known artists. In fact, Charles recorded several tracks at the home of the Beach Boys' very own Brian Wilson. This was right around the time his cult began forming in 1968, leading to the eventual murders he and his group committed. After his trial and eventual prison sentence, he continued making music and sent recordings to many on the outside. One that never saw the light of day was Completion, an album meant to be released in 1984. This came about via letters Charles was sending to Black Flag's frontman Henry Rollins. Soon, a lawyer representing Charles Manson reached out to SST Records in Long Beach, California. This was where Henry Rollins resided at the time of the letter exchanges. He received the recordings and soon produced it, sending them to SST for an official release. This would have happened if not for the backlash. Because a well-known record label is about to publish songs from a murderer. The founder of the label, another Black Flag member named Greg Ginn, received death threats if Completion was released. 5 copies are known to exist, 2 of which are owned by Henry, The other 3 were said to belong to Manson himself, with their current whereabouts unknown due to his 2017 death.
Unreleased songs by Michael Jackson. It's been alleged that 50,000 songs have been recorded by Michael over the course of his entire music career. Who knows if that number is accurate, but there is a massive amount of unreleased work under his belt. This was first publicly acknowledged in 1993, when Michael, Quincy Jones, Rod Temperton, Lionel Richie, and his father, Joseph Jackson, were accused of plagiarizing various songs. While all were acquitted of any charges, this event is notable for Michael listing the names of 37 unreleased songs within the trial. Going into the 2000s, many online began locating and publishing much of his unreleased work. This would continue even after his death, including a 2010 auction for the album Bible. Despite being barred from releasing it online, the songs featured were eventually leaked online. Of the songs we're still missing, titles include Tomboy from 1985, This Is Our Time from 1999, Thank You for Life from 1971, Strawberry Fields Forever, a 1989 cover of the famous Beatles song, and What's a Guy Gotta Do from 2000, which was written by Pharrell Williams. There are a ton of other missing songs from Michael, which you can find listed on the Lost Media Wiki page, linked in the description. After his extensive legal trial and extended stay with the Bahraini royal family in 2005, Michael became interested in the idea of a new album. In a phone call with his fan club, he showed excitement for making new music, even teasing a song he'd soon perform. This song, titled You Are So Beautiful, is considered lost. By 2006, he moved into the Grouse Lodge, a recording studio in Ireland. He began working with Darkchild and will.i.am of the Black Eyed Peas, with the ultimate goal of releasing an 11th album for Michael. Other artists would be brought on board to contribute something to the King of Pop's next project. These names include Sense, Chris Brown, Nephew, Akon, and Kanye West. will.i.am claims that the album would have had a more dance club style, similar to Michael's Off the Wall from 1979. It would have been released around 2007 or 2008, but nothing came of it, as most of Michael's attention would go to his upcoming This Is It tour. This and the album were cancelled due to his death in June 2009. Despite that, other unreleased works were published, including the 2010 posthumous album Michael. Many disapproved of this, including will.i.am, who said Michael would have hated it. In March of 2020, Darkchild and fellow producer Noah Stevens held an Instagram livestream where 20 demo tracks from Michael were played.
And when we finished this demo, I was like, yo, like it was just moving a certain kind of way, and I could already see what it was gonna become, like once he got on it.
A year later, YouTuber Mikey D uploaded a screen recording of this stream, preserving the tracks only available through it. Another YouTuber named MJJ Breaker then isolated the tracks and played them in chronological order.
Unreleased songs from the Beatles. The Beatles have an incredible range of missing material, only surpassed in volume by the previous entry. Before the group's breakout success in the mid to late 60s, the band performed at the Cavern Club, a place where other well-known artists, like Queen and the Rolling Stones, also played at. It's known that the Beatles performed at 150 lunch shows and 125 evening shows, with word spreading of their talent. Local music store owner Brian Epstein would become a massive fan, who in turn would become their manager in the process. Several recordings of these shows are known to exist but are considered lost, even those from Brian himself, a few of which are found, one of which being a recording from Granada TV, which wasn't even published until the Beatles' breakout success. The most well-known piece of media missing from the Beatles is the 1967 song Carnival of Light. Paul McCartney was commissioned to produce that song for that year's Million Volt Light and Sound Rave, a London-based musical festival featuring extensive light shows. The song was recorded during the session from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, Fitting well for the Beatles at the time, their trippy sound. Carnival of Light is said to feature distorted, hypnotic drums and organ sounds, the sound of a church organ, various effects. Water gargling was one, and voices. Perhaps most intimidating of them all, John and Paul screaming dementedly and bowling random phrases such as "Are you alright?" and Barcelona, various indescribable sound effects, with heaps of echoing and manic tambourines. Recording engineer Jeff Emmerich wrote more detail about the song in the 1988 book, The Complete Beatles Recording Session. Here he mentioned Carnival of Light by saying, "It was a bit of nonsense really, but everybody had fun doing it. Whenever the Beatles tried something really outrageous, George Martin would roll his eyes and mutter a clip, 'Oh my god,' under his breath. Looking back, I guess everybody was tripping his brain out that night. But we didn't know it then. When John started shouting 'Barcelona' repeatedly in one of his goon-like voices, Phil and I were doubled over in laughter." The songs were performed at the festival on the dates of January 28th and February 4th of 1967, with no recordings of the event ever becoming available. No official releases have been made of Carnival of Light either. In the 1990s, the three remaining Beatles members, Ringo, Paul and George, reunited to produce various projects. A few of these projects would be 3 albums containing loads of unreleased material and new recordings. These were taped at the Mill Studios in Sussex. While much of the recordings did get to see the light of day, some of the content of the 3rd album didn't. This included the 3rd reunion songs and a couple of singles, like Now and Then and All for Love. There's also a demo from John Lennon titled At Home, which was ironically stolen after his death in 1980. The whereabouts to this demo remains lost to this very day.